Today, we are diving into what might be the ultimate showdown you've probably never even heard of. It's the ongoing battle between human masters and artificial intelligence for the soul of the game of contract bridge.
So, we've all heard the stories, right? AI took down chess with Deep Blue. It mastered the incredibly complex game of Go with AlphaGo. You'd think, that's it, game over for humans. But there's one giant left standing, a game of incomplete information, of partnership, and of pure psychology that continues to just baffle the machines. And that game is bridge.
Now, before we even get to the machines, let's talk about the reigning champs. Us, humans. For decades, the world of elite bridge has been this incredible arena where legends are made, not just by raw logic, but by the very subtle art of partnership.
And this world has some seriously deep roots. The absolute peak of competitive bridge, the Bermudable, got its start all the way back in 1950. Just think about that. That's over 70 years of high-stakes, human-on-human competition.
Yeah, the Bermudable is the OG, but it's definitely not alone. The whole landscape of professional human bridge is really defined by these three crown jewels. You've got the Open Bermuda Bowl, the super prestigious Venice Cup for women's teams, and the World Bridge Games, which is kind of like the Olympics for bridge.
And if you want to understand the level of mastery we're talking about, get this. The USA alone holds a staggering 17 Bermuda Bowl titles. This shows you this is not just some game of chance. It's a real sport with dynasties and a long legacy of human dominance.
But, if you've ever tried to follow the biggest tournaments, you've probably run into this. All these different names, it can get kind of confusing. And you're definitely not the only one asking, what's the real difference between them all?
Well, that's exactly what we're going to do. Think of this as your simple, straightforward guide to the three biggest, most important tournaments in the entire world of contract bridge. Okay, let's get into it.
First up, we're going to tackle two of the biggest events at the same time. Why? Because they happen together every 2 years, side by side. And really, they're the heart and soul of the World Bridge Team Championships. So here's the most important thing to get. The Bermuda Bowl and the Venice Cup are basically parallel world championships. The Bermuda Bowl, that's the open event. It's the oldest, the most legendary trophy in the sport. Seriously, for most players, winning this is the absolute peak of their career. And then, at the exact same time in the exact same place, the best women's teams on the planet are fighting it out for the Venice Cup. So, two huge titles, all happening at one massive event. And you can kind of see how this all came together over time. The Bermuda Bowl got the ball rolling way back in 1950. Then the Venice Cup was created for women's teams in '74. And by 1985, it just made sense to bring these two amazing championships together. And that's how we got the powerhouse event that we know and love today.
Okay, so that's the biennial duo. Now let's talk about the third major tournament. If the Bermuda Bowl and Venice Cup are like the World Cup, then this next one, well, just think of it as the Olympics of bridge.
And that's the World Bridge Games. The two things you absolutely need to remember here are the timing and the sheer scale. It only happens once every 4 years, and it's always in the same year as the Summer Olympics. Winning a gold medal here, it just has that special Olympic feel. You're representing your nation on the biggest stage there is for mind sports. And this is why it's so much bigger. The biennial championships are focused on the open and women's teams. But the World Bridge Games? Oh, it's a massive celebration of the whole sport. You've got competitions for seniors teams, mixed teams, and even individual pairs events. It's just a way broader, more inclusive festival of bridge.
Okay, so we've got the two main setups down. Now let's put it all together and just look at them side by side. This is really where it all clicks.
I mean, this chart says it all, right? The key difference is right there under category. The Bermuda Bowl is for open teams, Venice Cup is for women's teams, and the games, well, they cover a bunch of categories. And the other big giveaway is frequency. The Bowl and Cup are biennial. That means every 2 years, in the odd years. The games are quadrennial, every 4 years, in the Olympic years. It's as simple as that. But to really feel the intensity, you have to look at the numbers. The final of the Bermuda Bowl, it's an absolute marathon. We are talking about playing roughly 160 boards, or hands, of bridge. That's an unbelievable test of mental stamina and focus, played out over days of grueling competition. The Venice Cup final is a little bit shorter, but it's still a huge challenge at around 128 boards. The sheer length of these finals is what makes them the ultimate test. There's just nowhere to hide. The best team has to outthink and outlast their opponent. But of course, this is about more than just rules and numbers. The real magic, the thing that makes these championships so incredible, is the human drama. It's the legendary hands and the impossible comebacks that people talk about for decades.
So let's talk about maybe the most famous final of all time, the 2003 Bermuda Bowl. It was a classic clash of titans, the USA versus Italy. And man, did it come down to the wire in the most dramatic way you could possibly imagine.
After playing for days, after more than 150 hands of bridge, the final margin of victory was one, a single point. One IMP, that's an international match point, how they score team bridge. It is the closest, most heart-stopping finish in the history of the sport's greatest event.
Yeah, everyone in the bridge world just knows it as the narrowest margin in history. But how? How does that even happen? How can a world championship be decided by an edge that small?
It all came down to a single hand. The Italian team made this super aggressive bid, which put a ton of pressure on the Americans. But then, a tiny mistake on defense, a misstep on a spade lead, ended up costing them 12 crucial IMPs. And that one moment of miscalculation, it swung the entire championship. Just like that.
And if you think that's dramatic, just look at this from the 2024 World Bridge Games. In the women's bronze medal match, China had built up a massive 58-point lead over the USA. In bridge, a lead like that is, well, it's a mountain. The match was basically over.
Or was it? In the final session of play, something absolutely unbelievable happened. The U.S. team didn't just win the session, they completely steamrolled their opponents. The final score for that last set of boards was USA 88, China 0. A total shutout. It's just staggering.
And that was enough. It was enough to wipe out that huge deficit and snatch the bronze medal. It's now the biggest and most incredible comeback in the history of the games. And it just proves, in bridge, it is never, ever over until that last card hits the table.
Now, while those three are definitely the big ones, it's good to know that the world of competitive bridge is even bigger than that. There are championships for pretty much every kind of player out there.
For instance, the Dorsey Trophy for seniors and the Wuhan Cup for mixed teams are actually held right alongside the Bermuda Bowl and Venice Cup. And then you've got the World Youth Teams Championships for the future stars of the game, and even the World Masters, which is all about pure individual brilliance. It's a really deep and fascinating competitive world.
So, from the biennial showdowns to the Olympic-style games, and from these razor-thin victories to just impossible comebacks, the world of championship bridge is about so much more than just playing cards. It really makes you wonder, right? When the mental pressure is that high and the calculations are that complex, where does the sport stop and the art begin?
But you knew it was coming. The digital age had to crash the party. A completely new kind of player has entered the arena, one built not on intuition or gut feelings, but on pure, cold algorithms.
Okay, picture this. The air is just thick with tension. It's the final hand of a huge championship. You've got players calculating every move, sending subtle signals, trying to outwit each other. But here's the twist. At this table, one of the sharpest players in the room doesn't have a poker face. In fact, it doesn't have a face at all, because we're talking about the incredibly complex and competitive world of robot bridge.
And that really gets to the heart of what we're talking about today. It's this big question. Can a machine, a piece of code with perfect logic and a memory that never fails, can it truly master a game that relies so much on human stuff, like intuition, psychology, and that delicate dance you have with a partner? All right, so let's get a clear definition on the table. When we say robot bridge, we're not just talking about some casual computer game you play on your phone. Nope. This is a serious, competitive frontier where AI bots are playing the game, and they're playing either against each other or, and this is where it gets really fascinating, they're playing with human partners. And this isn't some back alley league. This is officially organized by the top brass, the World Bridge Federation itself.
So let's explore how this new kind of player even showed up. You see, this isn't about AI replacing human players. It's about a pretty remarkable evolution of the game, an evolution that's actually split into two very different ways for an AI to prove it's got what it takes.
So what exactly are these two arenas? Let's break them down.
On one side, you have these pure AI versus AI events. Think of it like a digital gladiator pit, where different computer programs go head-to-head to see whose code is king. It's all about pushing the absolute limits of artificial intelligence. But then, on the other side, you've got something way more collaborative, human-robot partnerships.
This is where a human player's strategy and intuition gets blended with the flawless, logical execution of a machine.
Okay, let's dive into that first category, the pure AI showdown. We are talking about the biggest stage there is for this, the World Computer Bridge Championship. This is the ultimate battleground for bridge bots.
And you know, this didn't just pop up overnight. The whole journey really began back in 1996 with the American Contract Bridge League kicking things off. By '99, the World Bridge Federation got involved, and that's what really gave it global recognition. Fast forward to 2019, and you've got these incredibly sophisticated programs like MicroBridge taking home the championship title. It just shows you how far the tech has come.
But that AI showdown, that's really only half the story. The second category is, you could argue, even more interesting. This is where humans and robots actually team up and compete together in official, high-stakes tournaments. And the key thing to understand here is that these are not just for fun. The World Bridge Federation has made robot tournaments an official competition category, right alongside the major human events. Players earn official points, they can win prestigious titles, and get this, the very best players can even get their robot bridge points counted in the main rankings with all the top human players in the world. I mean, that's real legitimacy right there.
And you want to know the best part? It's surprisingly easy to get involved. You don't need some supercomputer or a degree in coding. You can literally just download an app like FunBridge or BBO, create an account, and sign up for an official WBF event, all from your phone or tablet. The world of competitive robot bridge is right at your fingertips.
Okay, now we're getting to the real core of it all. What actually happens when a robot brain and a human brain face off at the bridge table? Let's break down the key differences, the strengths and weaknesses of each. First up, memory. And honestly, it's not even a fair fight. A robot has perfect recall. It knows every single card that's been played, every bid that's been made, with zero errors. Think about that. Any strategy that relies on hoping your opponent forgets something is totally useless against a machine. Meanwhile, the human brain, as amazing as it is fallible. We get tired, we get distracted, we feel the pressure.
Next, let's talk about consistency. A robot will execute its program strategy perfectly. Every single time. It never gets nervous, it never has an off day, it never gets tired. Now, that means you can absolutely rely on your robot partner, but it also means a smart opponent might find them a bit predictable. Humans, on the other hand, well, we're gloriously inconsistent. Our mood, our focus, how we're vibing with our partner, it all affects our game. That makes us unpredictable, sometimes in a good way, and sometimes, well, not so much.
And finally, there's communication. Robot bidding is rigid. It sticks to its programming with bids that have very precise, exact meanings that are often just displayed right there on the screen. But human communication? Oh, that's all about nuance. Our bidding is flexible, it's adaptive, and it relies on this deep, sometimes almost telepathic understanding with our partner, especially when it comes to that complex, secret language of defensive signals.
So with these huge differences in how they play, where is all this technology actually taking the game? Let's take a look at what the future of bridge might hold in this age of AI.
So, what's on the horizon? Well, we can definitely expect even more advanced AI, bots with smarter bidding systems, and even sharper card play. The tournaments themselves will probably evolve, becoming more and more integrated with the traditional bridge world. And I bet we'll start seeing some really cool new formats that find creative ways to blend human judgment with AI's raw analytical power. All of this just opens up the game to more people than ever before.
Which really brings us to this final thought, and this quote sums it up perfectly. Robot bridge competitions signify a profound evolution in the game, seamlessly blending traditional strategic depth with the advancements of artificial intelligence. So you see, the question isn't really whether a machine can master a human game anymore.
So, just imagine this for a second. You sit down for a really serious game, and your partner? Well, it's an algorithm. And no, this isn't some sci-fi movie plot. This is happening right now, today, in huge world-class competitions. But the real question isn't just about the tech. It's about your strategy. Are you ready to completely rethink how you play the game?
And what's amazing is the variety in this world. You've got these official tournaments where humans actually partner up with bots. But then you have something like the World Computer Bridge Championship, which is, it's basically a cage match for AIs, right? They're all battling it out to be named the best program on the planet. It's this whole ecosystem with events for pretty much every level of player you can imagine.
So, the big question is, how does the game actually change when an AI sits down at the table. And look, it's not just about having a partner that never makes a mistake. The fundamental rules, the way you even approach the game, it's completely different. So let's break down exactly what those key differences are. Okay, first up, and this is probably the biggest one, the bidding system. In regular human bridge, a partnership is all about building this unique, customized bidding language that you create together over time. Well, with a robot partner, that's just gone. You are playing their system. It's a fixed, pre-programmed logic, and you're the one who has to adapt. There's zero negotiation.
And this leads right into the next major point, which is all about transparency. See, in a human game, you alert certain bids, right? And then your opponents have to ask for an explanation. But in robot bridge, every single conventional bid is automatically alerted and explained to the entire table. That includes you. It means that any kind of miscommunication about what a bid means becomes, well, literally impossible.
Now, this is where the machine brings this, I guess you'd call it a level of mathematical purity to the game. Think about it. In a human tournament, there's always an element of luck, right? It depends on who you face. But in a big robot event, every single participant plays the exact same deals. This creates a perfect one-to-one comparison of skill across the whole field. It's pure.
And then there's the whole psychological side of the game. You know what I'm talking about. That subtle hesitation before a bid, or that super quick pass. All those little things can convey information in a human game. Well, robots just eliminate that completely. They play at a constant, automated pace, which removes the entire element of tempo, and frankly, all the murky ethical gray areas that can come with it. So when you think about all these differences, the transparency, the fairness, the tempo, they all really funnel down to one single core concept. You have to learn to speak the robot's language. And the first lesson in that language, it's the bidding system. So when we talk about a fixed system, what does that actually mean? Well, it's a set of rules the robot follows with 100% consistency. You can't just suggest a new convention. You can't agree on some special way to handle a weird situation. Nope, the system is the system. It's totally predictable, sure, but it's also completely unchangeable.
Honestly, this is probably the best way to think about it. A really great human partnership, it's like developing a rich, private language over many, many years. You have your inside jokes, your shorthand, a deep, intuitive understanding of each other. Now, partnering with a robot, that's like being handed a very good, but very literal travel phrasebook. It's effective for sure, but there's just no room for creativity.
So what does that actually mean in practice? Well, it means some of the most advanced, most creative tools that expert players rely on are they're off the table. All these complex conventions you see here, they're simply not in the robot's phrasebook. They're still the exclusive domain of human-to-human play.
But, and this is a big but, here's the trade-off, and it's a really powerful one. What you lose in all that flexibility, you gain in absolute logical perfection. The robot will never forget your system. It will never make a bid based on emotion. And it will never, ever make a so-called psychic bid, one of those wild, deceptive calls. What it offers is 100% logical consistency, every single hand.
So, when you put all of this together, it becomes pretty clear that this isn't just some new way to play bridge. It's fundamentally a different kind of game. It has its own unique strategies, its own unique challenges.
Okay, let's just recap everything. Human bridge thrives on flexible, customized systems, while robot bridge uses a fixed, unchangeable standard. In the human game, alerts have to be requested. With robots, they're totally automatic. Human tournaments have that element of luck, while robot events are about as close to pure skill as you can get. And psychic bidding? It's a strategic tool for humans, but it's just plain impossible for a bot.
It really all comes down to this. Robot bridge is all about championing transparency and this idea of mathematical equality. Human bridge, on the other hand, champions strategic flexibility and the unique, irreplaceable art of partnership. And that's the thing. Neither one is better. They're just different philosophies for playing the exact same game.
And you can see how different these two worlds are. Human tournaments are all about teams, and they're scored with a system called IMPs, which basically measures how well you did compared to what an average score would be. But the AI competitions, they're often these non-stop duels, bot versus bot, and they use totally different metrics that are just focused on raw, hardcore performance. And let me tell you, the machines have been getting better for a while now. The very first World Computer Bridge Championship was won way back in 1997.
And from there, you can see this clear evolution. You have Jib winning back-to-back, then Jack comes along and creates a 4-year dynasty, and then new challengers like Shark Bridge rise up to take the crown. The AI is learning, and it's learning fast.
So, where does the real human versus machine battle actually happen? Well, it all starts with the bidding. And this isn't just about counting your cards. It's this silent, coded conversation you have with your partner to figure out your combined strength. Honestly, it's often where the entire game is won or lost before a single card is even played.
And the approaches here just couldn't be more different. We humans rely on established conventions, sure, but also on psychology, on reading your opponents, even a little bit of deception. The robots? It's all data. They use a completely data-driven approach, learning from millions and millions of hands with these super complex neural networks to predict the absolute optimal bid. It's truly human art versus machine logic. And one of the key tools the AI has is something called reinforcement learning. The easiest way to think about it is like a chess player practicing against themselves, except they're doing it 1,000,000 times a second. The AI plays billions of games against itself, learning from every single mistake and discovering strategies that no human might ever even dream of. And it does all this without ever being taught the rules of what good play looks like.
Okay, so after all that bidding, you get to the play. The contract is set, the first card hits the table, and now it is all about execution, taking as many tricks as you possibly can.
And here we go again, another fascinating split. Human play is this beautiful tapestry of experience-based intuition and pattern recognition. The AI, on the other hand, just uses raw, brute force computational power. It runs thousands of simulations, imagining all the possible hands the opponents could be holding, and then calculates the absolute best move based on all of those potential realities, all in a fraction of a second.
So, with these two completely different approaches, who's actually winning? Well, the results of this showdown so far are a lot more complicated than you might think.
In 2022, this whole conflict really came to a head in what was called the Nook-I Challenge. An advanced AI, nicknamed Nook, was put up against 8 of the best human world champions. This looked like it was finally going to be Bridge's deep blue moment.
And the initial result was, well, it was absolutely stunning. The AI scored an 83% win rate against the best human players on the planet in the declare or play part of the game. I mean, it looked like a total crushing victory for the machine. Case closed, right? But hold on, not so fast. Here's a quote from Noam Brown, who's an AI research scientist at Meta, and it completely flips the script. He said, despite the headline, AI did not beat human champions at Bridge. So what in the world is going on here?
Well, the crucial thing to understand here is the context. First off, the AI didn't even have to bid, which many players will tell you is the hardest, most nuanced part of the entire game. Second, it only played one of the 3 active roles at the table. And finally, and this is a big one, it didn't have to deal with the messy, unpredictable, sometimes brilliant, sometimes frustrating nature of a live human partner.
And this brings us right back to our main point, and it's confirmed by the experts themselves. Because Bridge is a game of communication, of psychology, of partnership, not just pure calculation, it remains an unsolved challenge for artificial intelligence. The full, beautiful complexity of the game is, for now, still beyond the machine's grasp.
The AI has proven, without a doubt, that it can calculate moves with superhuman ability. But the true art of Bridge, that silent conversation, that psychological dance of partnership, that remains a uniquely human domain. The only question is, for how long?
Subscribe our channel for more videos.